What's going on, world? My name is Eric D. Seals, and I want to know, have you been thinking about starting your own production company? Today, we're breaking down the key signs that tell you if it's time to launch your own business in the film industry. Let's dive in. Imagine working on projects where you call the shots, you're choosing the clients, and you're setting your own rates and building your own creative brand. But how do you know if you're truly ready to make that leap? Well, stick around because we're gonna go over the 5 biggest signs that you're ready to start your own production company. Number 1, you have consistent work and clients. If you're already getting steady work as a freelancer, this is a great sign that you're doing something right. What generally happens when you transition from a freelancer to running your own production company is because you have too much work and you need to open up the doors of people who can work with you to get more things done. There's many reasons why people start their own production companies, but one of the key factors to know if you're ready is because you're starting to get too much work in your current freelancer setup. If you can't take on all the work, you need to hire an editor or a producer or somebody else to help you get more work out. And that's the beginning of starting your own production company and a great sign to let you know that it's probably time to get started on it. If you're starting to get repeat clients and referrals that show that there's a demand for your service, that's another great sign to let you know it might be time to take the leap. When people are working with you over and over again, it shows that you're doing something right. It shows that you're keeping them happy and they want to work with you on future projects, even to the point where they're starting to pitch stuff knowing that you're gonna work on the project. So that's a great sign. Referrals is another way to know that you're doing something right and maybe it's time to start your own production company. Not only do they like the work, but they want their friends to experience working with you. If you're constantly turning down work because you need more time to get things done, then you might need a larger team. It's a big shift. It's not a small shift when you go from freelancer to having a production company. A lot of people think like, oh, I'm just gonna be freelancing and I'm gonna have some other people help me. No, you gotta start thinking about payroll. You gotta start thinking about days off. You gotta think about people being sick. You gotta think about managing people's work and schedule. So there's a lot of shift that happens when you go from A to B, but just know when you're starting to turn down work because you can't take it all on, that's a sign that might let you know that it's time to start a production company. Number 2, you understand business basics. Running a production company means dealing with contracts, taxes, and finances. I know one of the biggest lessons that I learned once I started my production company is it's way more than just being an editor and adding more people to your team. You have to have a lawyer, you need to get an accountant, you have to have contracts for when people want to work with you. There are so many extra things that go into it. Now, it is rewarding and worth it in my opinion, but if you're not interested in the business side, it's really hard to start running a production company. And so you either need a partner with someone who does love that or get good enough where you can do it yourself. You're gonna have to learn the basics of business structures like LLCs and S Corps and C Corps. You're gonna understand pricing and profit margin and contingencies. You're gonna have to consider legal protections for when you're on these projects, workers' comp. If you're comfortable with negotiating budgets, hiring freelancers, and managing expenses, you're already ahead of the game. But these are some of the things that you have to consider when you switch over from being a freelancer to going into running a production company. The basics of business alone makes it a big difference. You know, as a freelance DP or photographer or editor, you're more than likely just getting 1099 from the different people that you work with. You're working as a solo operator. You might be giving out your social security number when you're filling out taxes. But once you start a production company, you don't have to, but it's highly likely that you're gonna form an LLC, an S Corp, or some type of structure to protect you legally. The other thing to think about is you need to be comfortable negotiating budgets, hiring freelancers, and managing expenses, because these are some of the things that go into running a production company, unlike working as a freelancer. Number 3, you have a strong network. The only way to make it in the industry running a production company is you need a network of clients. You need to have people who are coming back to you for work on a reoccurring basis because you can't just work with people one time. So when you think about networking to make your production company come to life, you need to be thinking about it on both sides of the coin. You need people who need to hire you more, like clients and agencies and producers. And then you need to think about your crew. You need to be able to hire people. So it's really important that networking is very important for you. I don't generally like to talk to people. I'm somewhere in between an extrovert and an introvert, but when I need to do it for my business, I'll talk to anybody to make it happen because I know it's the key to keeping my company alive. It's important that you are knowing directors, cinematographers, editors, producers, set designers. You need to be able to build your network and hopefully have a spreadsheet of these different members that you're gonna need on future projects. So if you've worked with them in the past and you have the call sheet, copy their contact information because you're gonna need it in the future. And I think it's important to know you need to hire people outside of your favorite people that you work with. So what I mean by that is, yes, you need to hire your favorite people, but if you only rely on them, you're not gonna build your network, and there's gonna be a day when they're sick or they're not available for a shoot and you have nobody else that you ever worked with before. So it's really important that you work with some of your go-to people, but each project you expand by hiring maybe one new person per project. If you already know directors, cinematographers, editors, and producers, you have a foundation to build a team, and you're going to need that when you're running a production company. As a freelancer, you're more likely brought onto somebody else's team. You might have to hire someone here and there, but as a production company, you're constantly hiring people. So a list of folks is gonna be very helpful for you. Building relationships with agencies, brands, and businesses can really help secure high-paying jobs. You're gonna need constant work throughout the entire year, not only for yourself, but for your overhead, your insurance, if you get an office, your crew, taxes, all these things you need to start thinking about. And so making sure that people are reaching out to you to work on their projects throughout the year is a key element to running a production company. Yo, get your focus right. It's ridiculous. All right, your lighting is trash right now, but I'm just gonna have to deal with you. Here, take this off. There we go, get a little bit more light in there. Now you gotta change your ISO again. Let's see, let's turn it down. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Support the page, do something. I got a meeting to go to, but support the page somehow, give back by clicking a button. You literally click a button and you're done. That's all I need you to do. And then you're set, like forever. I won't ask if, maybe later I'll ask something, not right now. Support the page, subscribe. Number 4, you can handle project management. Running a production company requires organization and leadership. To be successful at running a production company is not just about you anymore. You have a team of people around you, and different project management software and systems will allow you to keep everything running smoothly. You're no longer just thinking about how much you're charging the client. You're also considering what your profit margin is on each project so that you can grow your company and hire more people, or take vacation, or have a sick day, or provide a 401k. To do those type of things is not just the bottom line. I charge that client $10,000. I need to know I'm charging them $10,000, but how much am I going to make on top of that? Because a portion of that money has to go to my expenses and my labor and my costs. How much of that is going to go back into the company to grow it? If you successfully manage projects, led teams, or handle logistics, you're ready for that next step. Using tools like Studio Binder, Asana, or Trello can help streamline your workflow. You just need to figure out what your system is, and then you need to be able to implement that when new people come and work on your team. That's probably one of the hardest things that I've experienced while running my production company. Not only developing SOPs or standard operating procedures, but changing them and updating them as technology changes, as new people join the team, and then making sure that folks are upholding those rules. The way we do that is through a mixture of tools online, from Proposify, Google Drive. We use Studio Binder, we use Trello, we use Slack, we use Time and I, we use all these different things so that we can stay on top of the team as a whole. Trust me, consistency across how you use these platforms are gonna be very helpful. Number 5, you're financially prepared. Starting a business requires startup costs, from insurance to equipment to marketing. Now, when I started my company, I had none of those things. I literally was building as I went. I was going into debt sometimes, or I could pay for it cash, or some of the things I just didn't get because I couldn't afford it. You'll learn what works for you as you start to build your business, and depending on how old you are or how financially prepared you are, you might be more well prepared than many others. Having savings, a financial plan, and potential funding sources will make your launch a lot smoother. One of the biggest ones I had when I started my production company is I started it part-time. I was working at another production company, agency, sports network, and thankfully I was working for them part-time. And whenever I had free time or in the middle of the night, I was working on my production company. I eventually got to the point where I was losing jobs because I was going to work. And to me, that's one of the biggest signs that it's time to switch over. So people would ask me if I'm available. People ask me if I could build a team. Agency would say, can you work on this type of project? And I had to go to my job. And I started doing the calculation on how much I made at my job versus how much I can make at a production company. And once I start adding it up based on how many jobs I was turning down, I knew that it was time to start my own production company. But it's still gonna be a leap. It's never gonna be like a perfect number. When I looked at that number, it wasn't like this is so much more than this number. It was almost even. And my thought was, okay, if I get this time back from my job, then I'm gonna be able to make more money at my production company. And that's exactly what happened. Consider starting part-time while maintaining other income streams to reduce risk. As soon as you start working at your production company full-time, everything shifts. Before, it might have been a little bit more fun, but once you're relying on that money to make a living, everything changes. Your creative ability changes. It's no longer how creative do I want to make this video, it's how long do I have to work on it until it's done so I can get that check so I can pay my rent or go get groceries. It changes everything. So know that the switch is a big deal. If you found any of this helpful, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more filmmaking business tips. Are you thinking about starting a production company? Let's discuss in the comments. Starting a production company isn't just about loving filmmaking. It's about building a sustainable business. If you have the clients, the knowledge, the network, and the financial foundation, you're ready to take that leap. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hi, I'm Eric Seals. I'm the tape man. Cameraman!